Suppose it's all true, and you walk up to the pearly gates and you are confronted by God. What will Stephen Fry say to him, her, or it?
I will basically, what's known as theodicy, I think. I'll say, bone cancer in children? What's that about? How dare you? How dare you create a world in which there is such misery that is not our fault? It's not right. It's utterly, utterly evil. Why should I respect a capricious, mean-minded, stupid God who creates a world which is so full of injustice and pain? That's what I'd say.
I'm not really making this video for Stephen Fry. He's surely better informed than I, has access to face-to-face discussions with some of the most vibrant minds presently alive, and may well already have figured out what I'm about to say for himself. I'm not really making it for the kind of people who account for the bulk of atheists, those who say they're open to the idea of God given sufficient empirical evidence, but really don't seem open to anything. I'm making this for those who are genuinely, truly open-minded and who are willing to move beyond the limited concept of God given to us by religion. That same limited concept which the majority of atheists, in the videos they make at least, seem to think is the be-all and end-all definition of what this incredibly and purposely vague three-letter word stands for. The short answer here is that Stephen Fry's perception is incomplete. Note that I do not say incorrect, as this isn't a question of being right or wrong. In order to be able to conceptualise something as all-encompassing and elusive as God, we have to at least be willing to move in the direction of merging all viewpoints. As impossible as this seems to human minds so hardwired as we are to regard duality and separateness as an absolute and unchanging rule. Indeed, in making an honest attempt to realise the true nature of God, we are in fact proposing to end the duality latent within ourselves. No mean feat. To give a metaphorical example to aid the understanding of the willfully temporal-minded, consider the Big Bang Theory. Every atom of matter in the entire physical universe, every joule of energy, is said to once have been condensed into a single infinitesimally small point. This theoretical amalgamation of everything in existence could empirically be said to have been omnipotent, possessing infinite potential, capable of doing anything. That is to say, everything that has been done since the Big Bang has been done by energy and matter present at that time. Also omnipresent. Any location one can imagine in the theoretical physical universe must be built from matter that existed at that time, or was created by ongoing chemical processes which theoretically can be traced back to that time. The issue of the Big Bang is everything and everywhere. But our experience of the universe is made of much more than just matter and energy, is it not? The thing conspicuously absent now from our metaphorical understanding of God is consciousness. You don't really notice consciousness in your daily experience in the same way you don't notice the operation of your eyes when seeing. But you'd best believe that conscious awareness is as critical to your experience as the existence and continued functioning of your various sense organs. Since nothing can ever be made or destroyed, only transmuted by various means, all the consciousness present in the universe now must also have been present in some form or another at the theoretical moment of the Big Bang. All matter, all energy, and all consciousness concentrated at once into a single point, all potent, all present, all knowing, surely could be given no better objective term than God, despite the obvious conceptual hang-ups surrounding that word. It's up to the individual to work on those for themselves, or to just choose a different word. Source, being, presence, awareness, whatever you like. These are all just mind-bound linguistic symbols, however. To really develop our understanding of this concept, we must unlearn our reliance on the mind itself as the sole tool of understanding, and step into the heart. With sufficient qualification on which particular meaning of God we are now pointing to, the Big Bang metaphor which I've used to advance my own understanding is perfectly compatible with the conventional, rational understanding of the universe. So, with even a slightly expanded concept of what God is, we can clearly see that God isn't actually allowing bone cancer at all. God is the bone cancer. God is also the child experiencing the bone cancer. God is also Stephen Fry and others who are incensed that something they don't even believe in might hypothetically do such a horrible thing. A thing they label as horrible, from their limited viewpoint at least. As I said before, it's just a question of incomplete perception. And I'm not saying my perception is complete, far from it. But it is more complete in this particular regard than Stephen Fry's own. In short, despite his generally speaking superior knowledge base compared to my own, he has a blind spot in this particular area that I do not. The thing to realise when Stephen Fry, Richard Dawkins and many other talking heads for atheism are attacking the idea of God is that they're operating exactly as we would expect of highly educated individuals. They've looked for the ultimate authority on the subject which they are debating and decided that it must be the Bible, simply because that is the most apparently authoritative source of information available in their specific culture. Indian atheists debate the Vedas, Middle Eastern atheists the Quran, and so on. So they're not really arguing against God at all, but rather their interpretation of the biblical interpretation of God. Now, anyone who's read any significant portion of the Bible will be in no doubt whatsoever that there is more than one God in that book. Compare the behaviour of the Old Testament God with that of the New Testament God in the form of Jesus Christ. Categorically not the same modus operandi. In my view, not the same God. The Old Testament God even has a name, which has been omitted from the vast majority of Bibles I've ever encountered in my life. That name is Yahweh or Jehovah. The only Christians I've ever met who use this name are the Jehovah's Witnesses, and I agree wholeheartedly with them that if God has a name, that name should be used. I agree with Stephen Fry and others that the Yahweh Jehovah Jewish God from the Old Testament is a cowardly, evil, manipulative, two-faced bully. But if we're going to slag him off, and by extension the people who believe in him, at least let's get the nomenclature right. It's worth noting here that the Hebrew scribes who wrote the books of the Old Testament were intentionally documenting their God's less than divine behaviour. Apparently they were proud to have a bloodthirsty maniac in charge. They also documented the existence of several other gods belonging to other tribes existent at the time. Yahweh Jehovah seems not to be the ultimate and complete expression of God, and it says so in no uncertain terms in the Bible. I consider it intellectually lazy that Fry, Dawkins and others seem to gloss over this glaringly obvious fact. But I understand that if they did not, they wouldn't have nearly such a strong case against the maniacal God they seek to discredit, and they wouldn't be nearly as appealing to the crowds of self-identified atheists who feel the same way. I know there'll be some who watch this and think, what about when it's your own child who gets bone cancer? Of course, in that event, I will have access to the same sensation of suffering as any parent, regardless of their respective level of awareness about the things I have addressed in this talk. The purpose of expanding awareness in this manner is not to become numb to emotion or to run from pain. It is in fact the complete opposite. This is how we confront and transmute our suffering. This is actually the core practical element of spirituality. Saying that bone cancer is a terrible tragedy and that we're the unfortunate victim of circumstance is every bit as disempowering as saying we are the victim of a mean-willed God. No one grows, no one benefits from that. What I have access to is an additional level of understanding, one which grants a perspective which frees the perceiver from any sense of victimhood. So, will I then attempt to explain something like this to my child? As a parent, I will consider it a sacred duty handed to me from the originator of all life to raise a child to have a framework understanding of reality that will serve as a foundation for them to advance further than my own has allowed me. It wouldn't even be a question of them having to contract a terminal illness in order for the lesson to begin either. Themes such as these, albeit in greatly watered down forms, can be woven into the simplest of conversations once the student asks the first question. And no one asks more questions than a young child. Thank you for listening to these thoughts. Please let me know if they resonate with your own and leave comments, questions or critiques below. I'm aware of the controversial nature of this perspective, but the intention behind expressing it is pure. If it wasn't for challenging myself with these kinds of ideas, I would probably still be an atheist myself, and I would still be missing the greatest piece of the puzzle, knowledge of the divine nature of existence.